Happy Thursday. Oh, it is. It is. Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Donno. Going to be talking plenty of Dolphins versus Bills today. Ethan Skolnick's going to be joining us at 12:15, so you know we're going to sneak in some Miami Heat-related content with Ethan as well. We have to. Guys, we're going to get down to some business, talking sports betting. We'll be talking about Dolphins-Bills for Sunday, Thursday night football tonight, the rest of the Sunday slate, Thursday night football tonight, Giants and Washington football team. We'll see which one of those teams stinks less than the other one does, but I think there could be some interesting bets to be had. Barry Barger from BetUS.com is going to join us at 12:30, and our main man, Hussam Patel, is going to be joining us at 12:40 to talk even more Dolphins versus Bills. Hello, Joseph. Hello, David. Hello, Manny Chang, who's trash-talking me about Real Madrid beating Inter Milan yesterday. I'm very, very crushed about that. Manny is a Madrista. I am an Interista. So massive, massive L for me. Guys, I want to remind you that every episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network is served by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. The Quarterdeck is the place to be all football season long. You've got the 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. They have the flat screen TVs covering every wall. They have all the games on at the Quarterdeck for your enjoyment. So make sure you spend every college football Saturday, every NFL Sunday, Thursday nighters, Monday nighters, spend them at the Quarterdeck, guys, during football season. They have the 5 for $15 ice cold buckets special. Heineken family of beers, High Noon Hard Seltzer, mix them and match them to your heart's content. 5 for $15 ice cold buckets. The seafood at the Quarterdeck is incredible. I love to build my own poke bowl. The sushi is awesome. The buffalo shrimp are my favorite appetizer. God, I love the burgers. I love the French dip sandwich. I love the key lime cheesecake for dessert, the baby back ribs. There's so many great things you should try at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. They've been with me on my shows for a little over a decade now. They are a member of my family. If you want to peep their menu before you go or find the location nearest to you, visit them on the web at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. Also brought to you by You Brake Wheel Fix, conveniently located in North Miami. Mark and his repair and refinishing techs have over 20 years experience providing high-quality repairs for cracked, bent, or damaged rims and wheels. They get the job done quickly, and they get the job done right with a quality guarantee. They'll even give you loaner wheels so you can keep your car on the road on those South Florida streets. They have 5 stars on Google and Yelp, and if you love our local sports teams like they do, that's how You Break Wheel Fix and I, we're homies because they love the South Florida sports teams. You can even get your wheels tricked out in South Florida sports colors, aqua and orange wheels to support the Miami Dolphins, orange and green for the Canes, even pink and black for Inter Miami. So many options, my friends. Call them at 305-748-0112 or on the web at youbreakwheelfix.com. So this episode, guys, I am so pumped about Will Fuller being available for the Miami Dolphins in week 2. And outside of the South Florida media, I really think his presence, his return, or his debut, really, because it's his return to football, but his debut for the Miami Dolphins, I think outside of South Florida, Fuller is really flying under the radar. It's like people forgot when you have people breaking down the Miami Dolphins victory over the Patriots last week, what went right and what didn't go right through the passing game. I hear very few people mentioning the fact that, you know what? They were down one of their weapons. They were down one of their most important weapons, a guy who I think can be the secret weapon this year, and that's William Fuller V, who was suspended last week. Also couldn't practice with the team last week. That's part of the NFL suspension rules when you get suspended for PEDs. That dates back to last season. That was the final game of his suspension. Now, a couple of question marks we have heading into this game. Exactly how much is he going to play? I think he's going to play more snaps than people expect because this is not a guy who is first, second-year player in the league, who's really going to take some time to kind of learn the NFL routine and adjust, and he's behind the 8 ball because he did have injury concerns during training camp, only practiced a couple of times, then he was suspended week 1. Will Fuller, to me, has been around a long time. He's enough of a veteran. I think he can hit the ground running. I think people are discounting the fact that he and Tua, despite the fact they couldn't officially practice much together, they had a lot of these off-campus throwing sessions during the summer when they were getting together on their own time and on their own dime and working on their chemistry and working on their rapport. Tua Tagovailoa did mention this week that he's actually done the diligence of studying Will Fuller's game tape from last year to have a better understanding of what type of routes does Fuller like to run, what are his tendencies, what routes does he thrive in, what sort of passes does he thrive with. And so I think this could end up being a pretty sensational debut. And I think we're going to have to see a lot from the Dolphins passing game because the Bills are going to make it hard for the Dolphins to run the football. They made it very hard for the Pittsburgh Steelers to run the football last week. They held them to 75 team rushing yards. They held Najee Harris under 50 rushing yards last week. And guys, when we talk about the Dolphins receiving core, we talk a lot about their speed. When you have a guy like Jalen Waddle, who you've added into the mix, when you have Jakeem Grant, who more of a special teamer than a receiver at this point because he struggles to catch the football, but he is incredibly fast and he should be able to pull the top off of defenses. You're throwing now another speedster into that mix, the guy who may be and probably is, I think it's between him and Jakeem Grant, the fastest player on this football team. And unlike Jakeem, he can actually catch footballs. Oh, and another one of those speedsters I didn't mention is Albert Wilson. So you have so many opportunities. I like what one of our listeners brought up or one of our viewers brought up in the chat yesterday during my conversation with Juan Cardona, wondering if you could even line up Fuller and Jalen Waddle on the same side of the field. I absolutely think you could, you can, and you probably should, because that's really going to do a lot to really take defenders off of Devontae Parker on the other side and allow him to really eat. So I think there's so many possibilities here. And some of Will Fuller's numbers, if you're wondering just how much he can terrorize opposing defenses this coming season, Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald wrote an extensive piece on Fuller this week as he just returned to practice with Miami yesterday. Fuller, whose 16.5 yards per catch last season was sixth highest in the entire National Football League, is eager for his new career challenge. He signed that 1-year prove-it deal. He's on a show-me deal. He's got 16 games starting this weekend to show the Dolphins and every other team in the league what type of big money he's worth on a long-term deal. Of Fuller's 53 receptions last year, 38 of those went for first downs. That's 71.7%. And that was 11th in the AFC. 71.7% of Will Fuller's catches went for first downs last year. He has been timed, by the way, running 40s at 4.28 seconds in the 40. And he mentioned he's going to have to set up a race with Jakeem Grant to kind of decide which one of those guys is going to be even faster. And Kyle Krabs from DolphinsWire.com shared a cool quote. When Fuller talked to the media this week covering the Dolphins in Miami, he actually got advice back in his second year in the league. He got advice from Randy Moss, who was pretty good and really, really good at catching deep balls. He got advice on his deep routes from Randy Moss. He said, actually, my second year, Randy Moss told me this. He said, he came to training camp. He said, when he ran his deep balls, a lot of receivers, when they run their posts or goes, they turn back and look at the quarterback, he said. The quarterback, he's probably already thrown the ball, explained Fuller. Quote, he told me to look up when you turn around. Don't look at the quarterback because the quarterback doesn't have the ball anyway. That's helped me a lot, getting the ball in the air quick, not turning around and looking at the quarterback, but looking up for the ball. That's helped me a lot. And just running out of your break, run 3 or 4 steps out of your break and then look up and try to find it. So I want to say good afternoon, by the way, to Sean Stanley, who's working hard. He's putting in the hours there in the closet with the Don Shula football and all of his workout shirts with the price tag still on because he doesn't work out. So he's just got all the price tags still on those shirts. I mean, Sean, do you think people are grasping? And I know maybe some people don't expect him to have a huge impact this week because he hasn't been around, but I think he might. Do you think people understand? Oh, and Hussam Patel says Fuller not at practice today? What the hell's going on? Oh, no. Oh, no. I do my whole monologue about what, it's probably just a maintenance day. He went full go. Wednesday's the big day. He was full go yesterday, a little maintenance today. They're trying to blow up my whole Will Fuller narrative. But, Sean, how much of a difference do you think Will Fuller can make this year?
Oh, definitely. I mean, with the speed, I think he'll open up for everybody else. I mean, just the fact that, again, I don't know how they're going to keep all these weapons or what formations they can go to, but it's going to be great. And then hopefully Gesicki gets more on the field. I think he was only on for like 20-something snaps this time. So maybe it'll open up for him as well. I know New England does that where they go after your favorite weapon, which is Mike Gesicki. I think is Tua's probably go-to guy. Mm-hmm. They took him out of the game. So, again, with that might have opened up a lot more. I mean, Albert Wilson really was a no-show in the game. So hopefully Will Fuller, as long as Hussam Patel is correct.
Oh, my God.
Hold on. Manny's throwing stuff up here now.
Didn't see Dolphins wide receiver Will Fuller during the viewing period of practice. He spoke yesterday and wasn't listed on Wednesday's injury report. I've got to suspect here, and man, can you throw the tinfoil hat up there? Here's the deal, folks. Here's what's going on. You have to understand the way that these conspiracies work. So, Brian Flores, he understands the veteran nature of Will Fuller, giving him a maintenance day off, I think. Is there some kind of a secret injury we don't know about? Did something happen here behind the scenes? I don't know. It's weird. So not out there during the viewing period. Maybe Flo's just fucking with us. Like maybe Flo's just like, hey, I want to give these nerds something to write about today. So like we had the triumphant return to practice of Fuller. And now today we're just going to mess with the media. We're going to give him a veteran day. We're not going to tell anybody about it. So God, I don't know. I hope it's nothing. I hope he didn't pull a Laramie Tunsil and pick up an injury getting out of the shower this morning or something like that. I want to say hello, by the way. We're going to go out to Ethan Skolnick in a moment, who's in the waiting room now. Hello to Alfredo Arteaga. He says maybe he was in the bathroom. He's not on the injury report and spoke to the media people. Yeah, I mean, maybe he had like some really spicy food last night and, just got a case of the shits. Have we thought about that? Have we thought about that possibility? But yeah, it's weird. Like he wasn't even on the injury report yesterday. And so unless something really shocking off the field happened, I don't think there's anything to see here. So hello to Ray Grullon, who loves my tinfoil hat. Thank you, Ray. Alfredo, David is in. And, David saw the title of the episode, Will Fuller Can Be the Miami Dolphins' Secret Weapon. And he asked me, well, does he want to be the secret weapon is the question. I don't see why he wouldn't want to be, because you got to think about this. He's in a contract year. He signed the 1 year, $10.6 million show me deal because he's trying to earn a long-term deal. That actually makes me feel better about a guy who's had injury trouble throughout his career. The fact that Will Fuller knows he's got now a 16-game sample, plus playoffs if they get there, but a 16-game guaranteed sample to show Chris Grier and every other GM in the National Football League that he can be a big money guy over the course of a long-term deal. So I'm pretty bullish on Will Fuller this year. Speaking of mysterious injuries, I saw something interesting in one of the sports blogs yesterday. There was this caller into a Washington, D.C. area sports station who claims, because, our former friend, Ryan Fitzpatrick, is on injured reserve now with WFT because he's got a hip injury, presumably an injury he picked up in the game last week. But according to this caller onto a DC radio station, he actually saw Fitzpatrick and like his 30 children at a local water park the week before the game. And he claims Fitz did something to his hip going down one of the big slides and was limping around the water park for the rest of the day. So this guy thinks that it was a pre-existing injury, not something that he suffered in the game. So if you want to talk about conspiracies, that is a conspiracy as well. Oh, I love this comment from Nick Hernandez. He says, the thing I'm scared of is that Fuller's secret weapon is PEDs. All I got to hope is whatever gains he got from those PEDs he was on last season that got him suspended, hopefully his workout regimen has maintained the gains. Hopefully he's not given those back. Alex M says, was it the Rapids water park? Well, I think it was something local, like in the DC area. I don't think it was something down here. They said the name of the water park in the conversation with the caller, but I don't recall it because it's nothing that I've ever heard of. But it was not the Rapids Water Park. All right, let's bring in our first guest of what's going to be a really, really busy show today. The boss man himself, Ethan J. Skolnick here from 5 Reasons Sports. Good afternoon, Ethan. How you doing, sir?
Good afternoon. I used to see Ryan Fitzpatrick on Las Olas a lot, but he wasn't with his kids. He was always alone. And it's funny. We went one day to there's a little breakfast place here called Java and Jam, and my daughter and I were the only other people in there. And I'm looking around, and there's a little outdoor area, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, that looks like Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, because he's Ryan Fitzpatrick. There are not a lot of people who look like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Very recognizable,
right? He's just back there, and finally, like, I was like, I'm not going to bother him. And of course, my daughter walked up to him, so that's we ended up with a photo on our wall. But yes, it was Ryan Fitzpatrick. He used to just sort of hang around by himself. But I will tell you, from going to Rapids Water Park, not that's where he went, you can injure yourself on those slides. Like, that's very possible, particularly, the little lines between, like, because
those
right,
hurt.
They hurt.
Yeah.
They hurt. Like, they'll get your back, they'll get like your ass. Like, it's not a hell of a lot of fun, I mean, it's so it's very possible that's what happened to Ryan Fitzpatrick. But whatever it is, we know that Ryan Fitzpatrick should be starting ahead of Tua. Even if he's out, even if he's playing in Washington, we know that there's still 45% of the fan base down here that still thinks Ryan Fitzpatrick is the future of the Dolphins. So I hope he's okay.
Hey, Sean or Manny, whoever's pulling up the tweets back there, do me a favor and pull up the second one that I sent you from Pro Football Talk, because I think I saw Ethan react to this one on Twitter. The Pro Football Talk tweet about Mac Jones. They tweeted out, like, they wrote an entire story on this, which is crazy. So Mac Jones began watching film of the Jets immediately after Sunday's loss to the Dolphins. Like, okay, shouldn't that be every quarterback in the league doing that? That you whether you lose a game or win a game, it's great to immediately start watching film of your next opponent. Like, the way that this guy gets coddled and talked up, I don't know if for a guy who's accomplished as little as he has so far as a pro, right, I don't know if I've ever seen a hype train like this for a quarterback. I mean, Ethan, they wrote an entire story on the fact that starting NFL quarterback watches film of next opponent.
Yeah, it's like saying, the day after working his 9-to-5 job, he showed up at 9 a.m. the next day. I will say this. I don't know who runs that account. I mean, there is an assumption. Well, okay, it's a little bit similar to the 5 Reasons account in that there is an assumption that every tweet from 5 Reasons is for me, and that is actually true. But I don't know if there's an assumption that every tweet from Pro Football Talk is from Mike Florio, although it does seem that he weighs in quite a bit from that account. So my guess is that is from him, and it's not just sort of an automatic tweet or one of his minions. And if that's the case, Florio has gone off the deep end. I don't really, and I know Mike a little bit. Like, I remember when he started that thing, and I give him credit. If you don't know Florio's background, he was an attorney. He just basically started this aggregation thing. And I remember when I realized how big it had gotten, because when I was covering the NFL primary before I switched to NBA primary, I'd be at the owners' meetings in Palm Beach, and like, you coming down in the breakers, and like, you would sit there and you would see like Al Davis and others. I think he was still alive. I'm not sure. He was kind of the crypt keeper, but Al Davis and others like scanning their phones to get to Pro Football Talk, like in the elevator, like all these executives. And I give him, he followed this model where if you talk about people in this industry enough and you report enough stuff that's not true, they will respond to you just to set the record straight. And that's how you build sources. There's a former Miami Dolphins reporter who moved on to a national right-wing site who used to use that exact same method. It can be effective at times, but that's how Florio built his brand. And then it became essential reading for everybody else. And so, this is one of these things that happens, though. This is like with Woj. When you're a news guy, then we have to take your opinion seriously too. But it's not really your bread and butter. Like, Florio's opinions are ridiculous. Okay.
Oh, they're so off the deep end.
They're totally ridiculous. But I give him credit for building this thing from scratch and building an empire. Like, for that, yes, credit. Do I really want to hear what you have to say about Mac Jones? No.
By the way, I actually this is off the beaten path, but it kind of goes into something we were just talking about. Hussam Patel, who's going to be joining us later, by the way, he writes in, he's never been to Rapids Water Park. Neither have I. And I've lived in South Florida my entire life. Ethan, there was one
passes,
time.
Donno, you want to go?
Oh, you do? You know what? I do want to go. Actually,
well,
I
if
think
you get that online thing, like they give you, if you do it during a dead period, they'll give you it for another time. I mean, it's fun. I mean, if you want to get COVID, it's a great place to go to.
So it's like a COVID buffet. No, but no,
it is. Well, it's outdoors, but I mean, wave pool probably not the best idea during this period of time. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, there was the one time in my life, and I've lived in South Florida my entire life. I do remember when I was a kid, before Hurricane Andrew, because this place never came back, I used to go with my family to Six Flags Atlantis.
Yes.
So we used to go there quite a bit, and then after Hurricane Andrew, they never opened it back up. I don't know. I'm guessing the Rapids has been there as long or longer, and it's still there.
Well, the other one, so the Six Flags Atlantis, but then nearby they had Grand Prix Racerama. Did you ever go there?
I did. Oh, a ton when I was a kid. I had at least 2 birthday parties there.
Oh yeah, and then that became Boomers. And is that even still there? I mean, the whole purpose.
No, Boomers is gone now. I think. I know they tore down the roller coaster. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you used to go there. 5-hour water park event soon. Yeah. Maybe in my pool here at Las Olas by the river. Which I just got my daughter out of. But yeah, I mean, if it was Grand Prix Racerama, but the only reason you really went there was you could go to Jackson's afterwards. So it's like if you had a date and you wanted to go there, it was like, okay, we're going to go to Jackson's. Yeah, Boomers is there, and Jackson's is still there actually. And if you want to be poisoned for a week, have the corned beef sandwich. In addition to the ice cream.
I've never had that.
Yeah, don't. I do it every time, but it's like, you do things for yourself that aren't so good sometimes, Alex. It's just
so there was one time in college when me and a few friends of mine, like, we tried to go to the Rapids, and this was like a busy, like a holiday type of weekend, which was a huge mistake. So we actually we pulled up near the Rapids, and there was literally a mile-long line of cars. So we waited in this line of cars for maybe 15 minutes, and we kind of all looked at each other like, screw it, let's just go to the beach instead. So we went to the beach. I've never actually been to Rapids because of that. So I want one more thing, Dolphins, and then I want to get into some Heat stuff.
Oh wait, there's a Fuller update. Our guy Hussam.
Oh, there is. What did Hussam say? Hold on.
Well, it's from Florida Sports Buzz. Let's see if we can post.
Okay, great. So, all right, Dolphins will disclose later on the injury report why wide receiver Will Fuller was missing today. Fuller practiced yesterday and spoke after practice about how eager he is for his Fins debut on Sunday. And Ethan, this whole saga, whatever's going on there, this is like an act of sabotage for my show, because I basically centered this entire episode about what a secret weapon Fuller is going to be.
Well, there is a secret today.
Yeah, true. And then he's mysteriously.
I mean, this could be personal reasons. You don't know. I mean, guys have stuff. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that, when I was covering the Dolphins full time, that somebody would disappear, and then we'd find out that they'd had a court date scheduled for something, whether it was, a divorce or something else, like months in advance. And it's just that, the team's not going to disclose that kind of thing. I mean, there are things that come up all the time. So I really wouldn't panic about it yet. I will say that Will Fuller is somebody who has not been especially, reliable in terms of availability over the course of his career, for one thing or another. That's Fuller saw pictures of bad shoes. He's out. I do. So that is something to monitor. I think that, to me, the most positive thing about what the Dolphins did this offseason is that they fortified that unit enough that they can tolerate, inactivity for certain players, right? Like, I mean, last year they went into it and you needed Preston Williams to show up. Yeah. Now it's like nobody's even talking about Preston Williams, right? I mean, because you've added, and obviously, Wilson was as invisible this week as he was last season, but you brought Wilson, but you had Wilson back, and you kept Grant. I mean, you have so much depth at that spot now that I don't really think it's a big deal. I mean, you look at some of the guys who were playing for Tua at the end of last season. I mean, they've totally upgraded that position. So that one to me is not a concern. My bigger concern, honestly, is like if Gaskin or Ahmed gets banged up, like what's the depth at running back? Like Malcolm Brown, they're going to give him consistent carries. Like I feel like there's more of an issue there
Right.
Because running backs are going to miss time.
Well, they got
than
the
there is a
they got the
receiver.
practice squad bros that they could bring up for spot starts.
The
But
7th round pick this year.
exactly. Yeah, Dokes and I think Laird is on the
Mhm.
practice squad as well. But still, like the actual on paper depth, and there's a reason why those two guys are on the practice squad and why they're not on the main roster. So the depth isn't great. Oh man, it's so. And hey, I haven't gotten your reaction to, and there was so much going on last weekend. Unfortunately, I think this got lost for some people. But among all the football that was happening, Chris Bosh gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Ethan, like his speech, I knew Bosh would be great because he's so intelligent, and I knew he would come up with he's a great public speaker, so I knew he would come up with something, but just. It was like something out of a movie, the whole Pat Riley speech and then giving that ring back that he held on to for years too long anyway. I mean, from your perspective, did you tear up a little bit the way that I did when that was going on?
Well, I mean, it was also there was a bad football game going on at the time, I believe. So it was kind of I was switching back and forth. But I'll say this: it was actually hard for me to watch because I missed that era so much. Like it's when you're in the middle of it, like I traveled for 4 years with that team. And it's kind of like when you're going through something. It's like when I was in college, with my group of friends, and I knew it would never be that good again. You just have that realization like around, graduation, like I'm never going to have a group of friends that, is unattached, that, we can go wherever we want, whenever we want it. That's how I felt about the Big Three era. Like, it's like, okay, I'm covering the greatest show on earth and it's never going to get better than this because it can't. It just can't. And Chris was such a part of that experience because, Chris was the one who, and his speech showed it, but Chris was the one you would go to for that kind of intelligent, sort of thoughtful, introspective discourse that you don't get, with, and not because athletes aren't capable of it, but just because of the circumstances that you're in. You don't get a lot of time with guys, with Chris, there was always time. He always made time. I mean, it's the craziest thing ever that you had a Hall of Famer on that roster, a guy who went in the Hall of Fame, but he was the 3rd or 4th guy that people wanted to talk to. So you could always get Chris. Like, that's the thing. Like, just like in that locker room, you could always get Ray Allen. Like, I used to talk to Ray before games all the time because everybody was going to LeBron or Dwayne. And so, my whole attitude the whole time was like, okay, I'll get LeBron and Dwayne during the group stuff and talk to people around them and go to their charity events and talk to them then. But like with Chris in the locker room, like he was the one who put everything in perspective, and he always does. And you knew the speech was going to be great. I love, the interactions with Pat because there is this perception of Riley as this cutthroat, I talked to Rappaport about this, and they're still pissed off, and he's, MF and Pat.
That was a great interview, by the way. I loved that.
Yeah, I mean, for going at for leaving New York. But the thing is, like, that's not really Pat. Like, if you know Pat, he's extraordinarily sentimental. I mean, it's just, and to be honest, it has been one of the downfalls in recent years. He was too sentimental after that 30-11 run and brought them all back. He was too sentimental after the 2006 championship. He brought them all back. Both of those things backfired. He was real sentimental during the late 90s with that group before he finally trying to change it. He's a very sentimental person. I mean, he told me this, and Brian Grant told me the story. Pat gives out these forever cards, okay, to what he calls his forever men. And when Brian, was diagnosed with Parkinson's and had an event, Pat said, any event you have, I'm flying out there. And he went out there, and on stage, Pat gave Brian one of his forever men cards, and Brian still keeps it in his wallet. Like that, there is the one thing you don't get a lot, Alex, is as much as, the Heat are this, again, cutthroat conditioning, get you in the best shape of your life. You don't get a lot of guys who leave the Heat who complain about the experience ever. Right. Like, who does that? Like the Dolphins through the years, many, many players, right? It just doesn't happen. Like, I mean, Brent Barry, we're going back 25 years. Like, Shaq on the way out the door when everybody agreed that was Shaq's fault. Like, there are very few of them that complain about the experience. It doesn't mean that Dwayne wasn't pissed off about not getting his money, okay, which he should have gotten, or Zoe wasn't pissed off, okay, at first, but they all come back, right? And they all speak highly of the organization, even if they weren't happy with some things, maybe financially at the time. So to me, the Bosh speech was all of that. And the fact that Bosch and Pat could have that moment after Chris was so pissed at the Heat during his time when the Heat were, in that case, just trying to do the right thing. Don't put a guy on the court who might die. It was kind of cool to see. So I had trouble getting through it just because it makes me wistful. But I love the relationship that Riley has with some of these guys. And he's going to have it with Jimmy, too. And I think that's where eventually LeBron's going to be in the rafters, and that's going to be forgotten, too.
Ethan J. Skolnick, let the people know, man, because I know you've got tons of things you're working on all day, every day. When's the next time we can see you or hear you on the network?
5 on the Floor episode from last night. We went through 5. Alex, Greg, and I went through. That's up on the podcast feeds right now. It'll be on the YouTube channel later today. 5 things to look at for this season, this training camp for the Heat. 5 big concerns. So that's up there now. You mentioned the Rappaport episode is still there. If you want to get tickets to go see Michael, I'm actually going to go down there. I'm going to go down there Saturday. He's performing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But also starting now, I'll be back next Tuesday, and we'll have a 5 Reasons to Bet episode that's up right now. And also we've got a Prize Picks episode that's going up later today. So stuff on the channel all day long. Please tell people to subscribe. I know that Alex hits this all the time. Hit the like button. That gets our stuff up to the top. It allows us to produce more content. So that's something that we appreciate.
Beautiful. Enjoy the rest of your day, Ethan.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, guys, we are going to get into some bets here, and I love this. BetUS.com is the official sports book of Donno Daily. Sports bettors, wake up, turn off your snooze, and log in to the 26-year mainstay of the sports betting industry, BetUS.com. Log in now. It's football season. You can bet on it, man. Log into BetUS.com or call 888-512-3887. This massive launch for all major sports is what's needed, and America's favorite sportsbook, BetUS, has your UFC, NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, PGA, NASCAR, esports, Triple Crown, reality shows, and futures on all of it, my friends. If you want to bet, then BetUS.com, because you don't want to be on the sidelines right now. Come out of hibernation and join the migration to the pioneer, BetUS, with innovative software making the casino, horses, social, and sports virtually as smooth on your mobile device as well. I use my mobile device all the time on BetUS. Log on or call the industry leader in bonuses at 888-51-BETUS and use our bonus code. And our guest has a bonus code as well. So we got bonus codes coming up the wazoo. Our code here is 5RSN125 for that 125% sign-up bonus. So get your phone, social, and online sports betting season partner with the proven pillar in the industry, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. And we're so pleased to be joined here from BetUS.com. Barry Barger is with us. Barry, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
What's up? How you doing? Football season, baby.
I cannot wait for all the rest of the games this coming weekend. And Barry, you seem like a really interesting dude. You are also an actor as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. You looked me up, huh?
I did. Of course I did. And it's funny because at first when I looked you up, I'm like, oh, there's also an actor named Barry Barger. But then I'm like, no, I think it's the same guy.
Right. See? Same fella, I'm acting everywhere. I'm acting like I'm winning money every week right now, What are you going to do?
That's too good, man. So listen, I've got a few things to get into, including local interest. We'll get into Dolphins hosting the Bills this Sunday, but we have Thursday night football tonight. And, both of these teams lost their openers last week. I thought the Giants looked especially bad. Washington football team at home, despite the fact that they lost Ryan Fitzpatrick to the hip, Tyler Heineke, who's kind of a younger version of Ryan Fitzpatrick, he steps in. Both these teams are 0-1. Washington football team is a 3.5-point favorite. Do you like anything, Barry, in this game? How do you size this one up?
Yeah, I'll take against the Giants, basically.
Yeah.
With that defense. And what's strange is Daniel Jones is 4-0 against Washington and 4-19 against the rest of the NFL, which is,
my God.
Yeah, is that crazy? Look it up. I mean, I was like, what? But I wouldn't count on that. Washington's got too tough a defense, and Daniel Jones, when I wrote my power rankings and stuff, and I said, they've given him everything. This is do or die. They've talked about him being the answer to all their. I don't think he's the answer, man. I think the Giants need to look somewhere else. I mean, they've got other problems, obviously, too, but this team, they got lucky and scored a touchdown at the end in scrub time last week, which kind of hosed me in my fantasy football for my defense. But
I know the feeling.
but other than that, they just couldn't score. Saquon Barkley didn't. Is he still on the mend? Are they still limiting him? It's Washington. Heineke, he looked okay last week, right? I mean, and I hate to say that to lose Fitzy's tough, because I thought Fitzy would bring, especially for Terry McLaurin, that deep ball, that good. He's kind of a crap shooter, but I mean that hip thing can be. That could be a while. That's probably going to be, 2 months they're saying at least for Fitzpatrick, maybe longer. I know that, you dislocate hips or mess with that. My brother had something like that, and I never saw somebody in so much pain, but he dislocated 2 hips in a car wreck. But I know the recovery period I think it's going to be longer. So, they say they're not going to look at Cam.
I think they should. I understand that maybe the reservations with the whole Ron Rivera thing. Maybe he was just like, I don't want to work with that dude again. But I think you have to look at him.
But Rivera knows him so well, though. So you'd think that he would know how to mold him and put him in a position to win there. I guess they're gonna give Heineke a shot, and if nothing, he can do advertisements for Heineken after this is all done. I just thought of that. I didn't come prepared with that. I don't know if that's stupid or funny.
I think it was funny. Yeah, and it's funny because when I brought you on, you made a joke about pretending to win money. I have that reputation from some of my viewers. I think they give me a hard time because I've been doing all right, and I bet a lot of soccer. I bet everything, man. But but I can't. Brooklyn Rob, one of our viewers, because I gave him a couple of wrong bets over the last couple of months. He refers to me as the mush. So as soon as I start talking about sports betting, Brooklyn Rob writes in, it's mush time. So that's why I need to lean on a professional like Barry here.
We're gonna show him who's the mush this week, okay? Hey, and I think that like in that Dolphins Bills game, is the spread still? I mean,
3.5 last I checked.
3.5. I don't think. I would lay it. I just don't think that. I think Buffalo bounces back strong. A lot of people are all over. Everybody jumps on these bandwagons up and down so quickly.
Yeah.
Everybody's already Josh Allen. It was a fluke last year, and it's like this is one game. Last year they played 19 or 18 games, whatever. So he's going to bounce back. Miami, I'm not a huge Tua supporter or Tua.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because, sometimes Dolphin fans, myself included, can get a little bit defensive of Tua, but he, very hit or miss when you ask people around the country about Tua.
Right, and here's what it is. I mean, last year he wasn't that great, but he performed better in training camp and up to this point than he got credit for. So he's underrated, in my opinion, right now to begin the season. We'll see how he does, the next couple of weeks. But he won last week against the Pats. I mean, that's something to be said about that. And he's got some weapons, and I think that he's got some upside. But I think he needs to show it more. What do you think have they not let him loose enough? Does he feel, what do you think? So, being a fan and all.
I'm glad you asked that. Like that was the MO last season. And there were a few things that I thought were working against Tua last season. Coming off hip surgery, didn't have a full training camp because of that. And then when he actually started to play, his offensive coordinator last year was Chan Gailey, but Chan Gailey really designed everything for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he and Fitz had worked together before in Buffalo. So Gailey was very pro Fitz. And then a lot of us just felt like once Tua got the opportunities to play, Gailey did not tweak the playbook at all to play up to Tua's strengths. It was and he handcuffed him, didn't allow him to throw downfield. So that was last year. And then this year, obviously, we weren't wowed by Tua's individual performance against the Patriots. Like you said, going into New England and winning, that is something. He did throw a bad interception in that game.
Right.
So I kind of look at last week, Barry, like, okay, that's a one-game sample. I'm hoping for more, and I'm saying this as a fan, that I'm hoping for more. And if we are to assume that Will Fuller is going to be added in this week and for the rest of the season, he missed practice today for reasons nobody knows yet. We'll see what happened when the injury report comes out.
Right.
Fuller did practice in full yesterday. That's going to be another weapon in his arsenal. With adding Jalen Waddle and adding Will Fuller this offseason, I think they're putting Tua in a better position to succeed. We'll see if he goes out there and actually gets it done.
Right. And, I mean, those are some good weapons, too. So, I mean, especially with Will Fuller, who, boy, if the dude could just stay healthy, right? I mean, like, it just seems he's always getting injured, but he's always had big upside. Like, I've had him on fantasy football teams where it was like boom, 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 and then injured again. But it's tough to say. It's just that the Buffalo Bills, I think, are going – I just see a huge bounce back for him here. You know, I mean, disappointing is not the right word. It's it was disappointing last week for him, and surprising.
I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
No, I think anybody else, but Pittsburgh's they've got a top 3 or 4 D in the NFL, so you can't discount something like that. And Miami's got a really good defense too. So this is where once it gets over like 3.5, that's where you've got to look at something like Miami and think about taking them just because of their defense. If they keep this tight, I mean, this could be a 3-point game, and maybe it comes down to the last possession. And so I don't have a strong side on that, but I would take Buffalo just because of their – I mean, Josh Allen, okay, it's already known he's going to come out. He's going to bomb the ball this year. Their plan is to just throw the crap out of the ball. So I think that he's going to really have some success this week. But how big? I mean, I don't know because I've got public figures on here. So public – on the spread, the public is almost 70% on the Bills, laying the money.
Wow.
And that's as far as ticket numbers. Volume's pretty close to the same. This is something I'll give you every time. Like this little inside info on this stuff. This is really cool. So on the volume on the money line, it's 55 to 45% on Buffalo, and the total, you know. The total, oh my gosh, that's kind of weird because the total's almost even, but the money's more on Miami. So that makes me think, on the under. So the wise money seems to be on the under on the Miami Buffalo game. So that's a little inside information. Like looking at these figures, this is how I interpret them. So that's a play. And looking at the Giants Washington game, you've got. So look at the Giants-Washington game. It's also an underplay based on Wise because the public is like 2/3 on the under, but around the over. But the money is more than half on the under, so that shows a lot of Wise money on under there also. Even more so on tonight's game, Giants-Washington. So. You know, I like to play with the pros. I mean,
totally.
Especially when I don't have a strong play one way or another. And Giants, that's the NFC least. I mean, who knows? It's hard to make a strong play, and in that conference, man. I don't know. Or in that division. I mean, oh my gosh.
You know, there's one more game I wanted to ask you about. We're joined by Barry Barger here from BetUS.com because I found this line to be kind of interesting. I expect this team to win the game, but they looked so bad last week talking about the Green Bay Packers. Like, dude, the Green Bay Packers, they got obliterated last week.
Right.
And they're home against the Lions, and they're minus 11. So like I found 11. That's a huge number. Now, is this a case of, because like you talked about, the public can sometimes overreact to things. Like, am I overreacting when I look at that number and say that doesn't look right? Do people just assume that what happened to the Packers last week, nothing like that will ever happen ever again?
I don't know about ever, but a week after with Aaron Rodgers, I'm not betting against him.
Yeah.
That's he's got too much pride and too much care. And like, this is, people would say, oh, he's there to, decimate the Packers team because of what they've done to him the last couple of years. That's not what Hall of Famers do. Okay. No. and I expect him to have a pretty big game. And personally, I would lay the money, lay the spread on that, because Detroit, I mean, I really like Coach Kneecaps. I mean, really. I mean, like
he had a cup of tea down here as interim coach, so we know Campbell very well.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't miss any of his interviews or anything anymore. I'm like, man, get that old school talk going, So I'm a fan of his, but Green Bay, and they've got a strong secondary too. So you know what the play is, and this is a play every week, is to bet Jared Goff throws an interception.
Yes.
Every week. Every week. And earlier this week, some places it was like minus 155 or minus 160. That's going to go up. Bet it all every week until they catch on, and then it'll be like minus 220 or something. And for the bettors that don't know, when it's minus something, like if it's minus 150, it's 150 to win 100. If it's plus 150, it's 100 to win 150. It's based on 100 either way, if that helps with a quick explanation. But yeah, Jared, I don't expect Stafford to blow it out every week like he did last week also, but the Rams have a great defense to support him. So that's, and Jared Goff, that's a huge upgrade in my opinion, from Goff to Stafford.
Oh, yeah.
But Green Bay should be, and so the Monday night and the Thursday night games sometimes, especially Thursdays, always seem to be unders. And I don't know if that's just in my head. I'll do some research. But sometimes you get the unpredictability. But with Aaron Rodgers having even an extra day or so to prepare, come on, man. I think he's going to decimate that Detroit D. The double D. Detroit D, they're in trouble. I
can't tell you how much I enjoyed chatting with you, and he's going to be on with us every Thursday. I love it, and we'll keep track. I do my picks every week. We'll keep track of Barry's picks. We'll find out who the real mush is. Barry Barger.
Exactly. You're going to be called Smash, not Mush.
Barry, if you have anything to promote, man, any stories you're posting this week and where people can find you, the floor is yours.
Oh, okay. So yeah, just go to BetUS. Live betting is huge, so make sure
I love it.
Live betting on all the games, which is great. And make sure you use that bonus code with 200, and if you deposit with crypto, because you're going to get a 200% bonus. It's great. We got a locker room. It's called that I write for, and I do power rankings, and it's loaded with information on every game, professional writers in the know, and details on teams, statistics that don't have opinion. So you've got everything right there. It's a one-stop shop. It really is. BetUS it's rocking. I really like being with these guys. These are great. Great
it's America's favorite sportsbook. Yeah, exactly.
It's America's favorite sportsbook for a reason. Punch it in Google.
Love it. Yeah, and I had first found BetUS last year because they had odds on things that I was using another sportsbook, and I couldn't find like college lacrosse odds because a buddy of mine's a former college lacrosse player. He was giving me tips. I'm like, where do I bet this? And then I found BetUS, and I've been sold on it ever since, man.
And you know what was when the pandemic started and everything, you know what was, you might know this, you know what got huge was Russian table tennis, man.
I remember that. So and, I never actually bet on it. I don't know why I didn't, because that seems like something I would do, but I never bet Russian table tennis.
Right. Well, now you know. I mean, don't miss any of those matches. Whoa.
Barry, I can't thank you enough, man. We'll talk to you again next week. Enjoy your weekend coming up.
It was a pleasure. You guys too. Thank you very much.
That was great. Yeah. And make sure, like he said, for those who are in the crypto game, because I talk about the 125% bonus that you get with credit card. If you deposit with crypto, you get a 200% bonus. So 5RSN125. Use our code at betus.com. All right. Day late and $1 short. Let's bring in our next guest, another Thursday staple with us. And I love this dude. Hussam Patel is with us here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Hussam, how are you, sir? You have any conspiracy theories for us this week?
A little bit, yeah, but I want to make a correction, Alex. It's Hussam.
Hussam. Hussam. Well, thank you. And I can't believe you went all week last week without correcting me. Hussam Patel. Thank you,
I thought you
sir.
would correct yourself at first. I was like, I'll do it for that one day.
Fair enough, my friend. So let us know. First of all, your thoughts on Dolphins Bills this weekend, and I know Barry is he's taking the Bills -3.5. I respectfully disagree, but I'm also a homer. So I'm thinking Dolphins +3.5. What are you thinking?
I would too. I would bet Miami +3 on the money line. It's going to be hot. It's going to be a hot and humid day in South Florida. I know the Bills are pissed. I'm a homer too. If I would bet money, I would do it on Miami. But we'll get to my analysis a little bit later on it and game prediction too.
Yeah, well, and let's get into it a little bit, Hussam. What do you think are the biggest factors for the Dolphins going up against the Bills team? And we talked about this a lot yesterday. The Bills, they looked really bad against the Steelers. And listen, part of it was Ben Roethlisberger, but their offense, like the Bills' defense was fine. Their offensive line, though, looks shambolic. And even when Josh Allen wasn't under pressure, he looked a little bit like the rookie Josh Allen. He was inaccurate in that game, and it looked like he was trying to force some throws. So did you see it? And the Steelers obviously have a great defensive front. Did they do anything the Dolphins can replicate, or will the Dolphins have to win this game a different way?
Well, here's the thing, and the Dolphins actually prepped for it against New England too. I did it on my ATB article, how they defended Mac Jones. Everyone wanted them to blitz 5, 6, 7 players on defense, but they played primarily a cover 3 and Tampa 2 look. And I'm getting the feeling that New England game was a test to see how that cover 3 scheme did against, what analysts would call a potent New England offense, even with Mac Jones as the quarterback. So they were dinking and dunking. They did not want to get anything in front of them. And look, this is basically what the Steelers did too. They played a lot of cover 3. However, they disguised it in man coverage principles. And I expect Miami to do something like that, although Miami doesn't have those premier pass rushers like a TJ Watt. Jalen Phillips can be like that, but we haven't seen it. Emmanuel Ogbah, he was able to put that pressure too, but they were getting the ball out really, really quick. Now, Josh Allen has the tendencies to hold the ball longer than Mac Jones, longer than Tua Tagovailoa, longer than Big Ben. It's a habit of his ever since he came into the league. So if Miami is able to get off those blocks like a millisecond earlier, they could create pressure for Josh Allen a little bit. So talking to this scheme in an atypical way, they're not going to be just dropping one safety into coverage. They're going to be dropping 2. And I think, one of my bold predictions in my new 5 Reasons article coming out soon is that I think we're going to see more of Javon Holland this upcoming Sunday.
That would be fantastic. Oh, man. And something I have to get your take on this because it started breaking. You were actually the first person to bring it to my attention once we started the show. No Will Fuller in practice today. I think we're still waiting on that injury report where they're going to explain. And I don't know if it's injury related, but on the injury report, whether he's injured or not, they will explain why he didn't practice today. Do you have any suspicion? Do you think it's some kind of a personal day or do you think he's hurt?
Well, Alex, it's Brian Flores. He's messing with us. He's messing with the media. He is trying to get everybody in shambles. Look, Dolphins are not going to disclose anything right then what happened. If personal reasons happen. Now, people are saying it could be COVID, it could be an illness, something like that.
Well, I hope not.
Maybe it could be his foot bothering him, or toe, was it? Foot bothering him just a little bit, or could be a personal rest day. You know, they want him prepped. They want him to get ready. He has a little bit of injury concerns and want him as healthy as possible Sunday. Because I do think that, you know, if Will Fuller starts on Sunday, he could amass close to 100 yards and possibly a touchdown.
Wow. And let's, if we do assume he's good to go and able to play Sunday, because I know some people are kind of wondering how much will he play. Now, when you give out a 100-yard stat line, I think you're expecting him to play quite a bit. But, you know, it is fair to point out he missed most of training camp, couldn't practice last week. I hope people do understand, though, that he and Tua did a lot of private throwing sessions together. So it's not like they're meeting for the first time or anything like that. But if assuming Fuller is healthy, do you think he's going to get a lot of snaps on Sunday, or will he have kind of a supporting role?
I think he'll get at least 30 to 35 snaps. Look, he's a veteran. He doesn't really need practice. He's been in this league 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And he knows what to do. And I actually, you know, found out about this when I was doing a little bit of scouting on the Dolphins offense. With George Godsey as one of the co-offensive coordinators, it looks similar to that Texans offense of 2015, 2016. Now, I don't want to put it out on the timeline because we know how it would look in the offseason regarding all of the trade rumors and stuff. But I think Will Fuller can get into this offense. He knows what to do. He knows what to expect.
One more, Sean or Manny, pull up for me that tweet from Dolphins Nation when we're talking about Tua here. This is crazy. So ESPN's Mike Tannenbaum, who is a former high-ranking Miami Dolphins executive, as we all know, he ranks Tua as his 30th best quarterback in the NFL. Quote, his lack of mobility showed up on his interception. I mean, I guess Mike didn't see he also scored a rushing touchdown in the game, but his lack of mobility showed up in his interception. I just don't see a high ceiling for Tua. Hussam, what is it going to take for Tua to actually get a little bit of respect?
Winning a playoff game, I hope. I hope. Maybe like destroying the Bills for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. I mean, he probably has to be all Patrick Mahomes, like throw 600 yards and 7 touchdowns against the Bills to get some respect. But even then, they're probably going to say, oh, it's a fluke. The Bills looked bad week 1 against the Steelers. We know this national media narrative. And I know Brooklyn Rob, he said, if you could pull it up, defending Mac Jones and defending a running quarterback in Allen will be the difference.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be that difference. And if Miami plays that cover 3 and they're able to cover, Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs well, and they're able to put a little bit of pressure on the edges, you have holes up in the middle. And my third bold prediction, and I'll get into it in my article, I think Josh Allen is going to run all over us.
Oh, I don't like that one. Is that really bold?
Could be.
Oh, man. This is really good stuff. I have to now, Normally, we would go a little bit into overtime, but I told Manny and Sean not to let me go past 1:00 today because I have a doctor's appointment at 1:30 where the doctor's going to tell me, oh my God, you've gotten so fat since the pandemic. Like I already know what he's going to tell me, but we got to go do that today.
Today too.
Oh, really? Jeez, crazy. Well, so before we let you run and we wrap it up, let people know where they can find your work. As you mentioned, you've got your bold predictions piece dropping. When can people see that?
My plan is hopefully tomorrow or Saturday, maybe even a little bit pregame on Sunday. It'll be up on 5 Reasons Sports. Either I'll tweet it out on my Twitter at Hussam Patel, or maybe Ethan will be so kind enough to do it on the 5 Reasons Sports account.
Hint, hint. Hopefully Ethan's still watching. Hussam Patel, and you can follow him there on Twitter at Hussam Patel. Well, you, sir, have a great doctor's appointment today. I will try and do the same.
You too, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Good stuff there from Hussam. Great stuff behind the scenes from Sean Stanley in the closet and Manny Chang. I'm not sure if Manny is out in the woods. Sean, do you know, is Manny out in the woods today? Because I've seen him in the chat. I haven't physically seen him though.
I think he's been busy. Actually, he's not even on anymore. He just dropped. So he must be busy or in the woods, as you say.
In the woods. By the way, I love Alfredo's message here. He says, I rank Mike Tannenbaum my 40th best GM in Dolphins history. Tannenbaum ranked to a 30th best quarterback in the NFL. Huge thanks to everyone who tuned in. Huge thanks to Barry Barger for joining us, Ethan Skolnick, and Hussam Patel. Make sure you support our sponsors, betus.com. Use our code 5RSN125 for a 125% sign-up bonus or 200% if you deposit with crypto. Make sure you check out the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill today and every day during football season. 2-for-1 happy hour, 5 for $15 ice cold buckets. And by the way, I'm going to be hosting 5 rounds tonight, MMA and boxing talk, and we're going to be giving away a $20 Quarterdeck gift card. So be watching that here on 5 Reasons YouTube between 6 and 7:30 p.m. for your chance to win a $20 Quarterdeck gift card. And You Break Wheel Fix, shout out to them as well if you need any repairs on bent or cracked wheels, or if you just want to trick your wheels out, visit them at youbreakwheelfix.com. We will talk to you guys again tomorrow. We'll wrap up the week in style. Tomorrow, 12 noon, we'll get you ready for Canes, Michigan State. I got a lot to say about that tomorrow. Dolphins, Bills, of course, tomorrow, 12 noon, right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.